Here with our college football pick show here for Saturday's action. Well, we made it here with our part 6 here for week number 10. We'll have 10 games, so that means we got 60 in for the week. Before we get into just a couple of things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free college football picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have NBA, we have NFL, we have European football, Major League Baseball World Series, college basketball coming on Monday. It is a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel and like this video, hey, give us that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. And of course, then visit Tony'sPicks.com, our multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the link to the hot cappers to get signed up to one of our long-term passes. You'll see some of our hot cappers up there, like Ramon, Ben has been hot, Mindy. I'm also one of the top performers in college football this season. So click the link here and get signed up to some of our long-term passes. You can see it right there. College football. Of course, you'll find here over on the latest premium picks. You can click our best bets for our best bets of the day. Each capper can release one best bet per sport per day. Our $15 premium pick. Each capper can designate one of their premium picks on their card as a $15 pick to showcase their service to existing and new customers. And of course, our 3-packs, which are very good values. And of course, our pick ticker, if you'd like to purchase plays individually a la carte. Our promo code, you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use that promo code TonyT, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description. Click the All Cappers tab and get signed up. Also, love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments below. We are looking for cappers, so you can apply over on our footer at Tony'sPicks.com. And of course, our podcast, every pick in podcast form at Tony's Picks. Search Tony's Picks on all major platforms on podcast. All right, let's get this one started. Clemson versus Notre Dame, a college football pick for Saturday. Clemson moved to 8-0 after their 27-21 home win to Syracuse. Tigers moved the football for 450 yards with 293 rushing on 60 attempts. On defense, they allowed 4 yards per rush in that one to the Syracuse Orange with 167 passing on 26 attempts. Now, DJ Ugalale completed 62% of his passes for 6.6 yards per attempt. He threw 2 interceptions and was benched. He's expected to start coming off the bye week on the season. Ugalale, 64% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. He's thrown for 17 touchdowns and 4 picks. Notre Dame, they're 5-3 after their 41-24 road win at Syracuse. Fighting Irish gained 362 yards with 246 rushing on 56 attempts. On defense, they limited the Orange on the ground to under 3 yards a carry and 225 passing on 36 attempts. Drew Pine at season low, 47% completion rate, 6.1 yards per attempt. On the year, Pine, 62% completions, 7.2 yards per attempt. He has thrown for 13 touchdowns and 4 picks. Bad weather is forecasted in this game. Tigers doing a good job of stopping the run this season. Despite the struggles of Ugalale, the Tigers have been a more efficient passing game. The play here will be Clemson minus 3.5. Michigan versus Rutgers, college football pick Saturday. Michigan has a mark of 8-0 after their 29-7 home win here to Michigan State. Wolverines gained 443 yards in the game. Michigan Wolverines, I should say, gained 443 yards, 276 rushing on 52 attempts. Defensively, they limited the Spartans to 1.5 yards per rush, 215 passing yards on 30 attempts. J.J. McCarthy completed 60% of his passes in the win, 6.7 yards per attempt. Now, this season, McCarthy, 74% completion rate, 8.7 yards per attempt. Rutgers fell to 4-4 with that 31-0 road defeat at Minnesota. Scarlet Knights a season low, 134 yards with 48 rushing on 21 carries. Defensively, they allowed nearly 5 yards per rush to the Golden Gophers with 122 passing on 21 attempts. Gavin Wimsatt is questionable after an injury last week and completed just 35% of his passes with 4 yards per attempt. His completion rate this season just 40% with 4.6 yards per attempt. Noah Vidal, relieved last week, completed 43% with an interception. Wolverines have played to under 4-5. Past the 3 games, the Wolverines holding teams at 247 yards. Rutgers, they do very well defensively, but their quarterback situation is not very good. They're going to struggle to score here. The play here will be Michigan Rutgers under 45. James Madison versus Louisville, college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. James Madison hit the bye week at 5-2. They lose at home to Marshall 26-12. Dukes had a season low 247 yards with 83 rushing on 37 attempts. Defensively, they did give up nearly 4 yards per rush with 159 passing on 31 attempts. Todd Centeio missed the Marshall game due to injury, and he's doubtful here. This year, Centeio, 64% completion rate, 9.4 yards per attempt. Billy Atkins, the backup, he started, just 37% completions and touchdowns, 4 picks, 4.7 yards per attempt. Louisville is 5-3 after that 48-21 home win to Wake Forest. Cardinals gained 410 yards, 211 rushing on 38 carries. Defensively, they held the Demon Deacons at just 2 yards per carry. 310 passing on 44 attempts, but put good pressure on quarterbacks. Louisville had a +7 turnover margin. Malik Cunningham completed 65% of his passes, 7.1 yards per attempt. On the year, Cunningham, 61% completions, a career low, 7 yards per attempt. He's averaging 6.1 yards per rush, averaging nearly 13 carries per game. James Madison quarterback situation, the main concern. Play here will be Louisville at -7. Florida State versus Miami, college football pick Saturday. Florida State, they sit at 5-3 after their 41-16 home win to Georgia Tech. Seminoles gained a season-high 642 yards, 246 rushing on 43 carries. On defense, they limited the Yellow Jackets to just over 2 yards per carry with 198 passing on 31 attempts. Jordan Travis completed 63% of his passes, 10.4 yards per attempt. He had a season-high 396 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. This season, Travis has 62% completion rate with 8.8 yards per attempt. He has thrown for 14 touchdowns and 3 picks. Miami improved to 4-4 after their 14-12 road overtime win to Virginia. Hurricanes, a season low 272 yards with 147 rushing on 38 carries. They held the Cavaliers to over 3.5 yards per rush with 208 passing on 28 attempts. Tyler Van Dyke missed the Virginia game and a game-time decision here. On the season, Van Dyke 64% completions, 7.3 yards per attempt. Jake Garcia started last week, just 51% completion rate, 4.3 yards per attempt. Garcia on the year, 60% completions, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 7.8 yards per attempt. Miami quarterback and offensive situation, the big issue here. They've been held at 327 yards to Duke, 272 yards at Virginia the past 2 weeks. Play here will be Florida State -7.5. Auburn versus Mississippi State. College football pick Saturday. Auburn fell to 3-5 after their 41-27 home defeat to Arkansas. Tigers produced 468 yards with 183 rushing on 38 carries. Defensively, they allowed nearly 6 yards per rush and 234 passing on 24 attempts. Robbie Ashford completed a season-high 73%, 8.6 yards per attempt. He passed for 285 yards and a touchdown. On the year, Ashford, 52% completion rate, 7.5 yards per attempt. Mississippi State drops to 5-3 after their 30-6 road loss at Alabama. Bulldogs gain 293 yards, 62 rushing on 26 carries. They limited the Crimson Tide to just 1 yard per rush with 261 passing on 37 attempts. Will Rogers season lows here, 50% completion rate, 3.9 yards per attempt. This season, Rogers has a 68% completion rate, 23 touchdowns, 4 picks, 6.7 yards per attempt. Bulls return home after their losses to really good defensive teams on the road to Alabama and Kentucky. 4 straight losses for Auburn, then a coaching change. Past 3 games, Tigers allowing 532 yards, 6.6 yards per rush, 7.6 yards per pass attempt, and 44 points. Play here will be on Mississippi State -13.5. Wake Forest versus NC State college football pick Saturday. Wake Forest fell to 6-2 after their 48-21 road defeat to Louisville. Demon Deacons gained 402 yards in this one with 92 rushing on 46 attempts. They did allow 5.5 yards per rush with 199 passing on 27 attempts. 8 turnovers here by the Demon Deacons. Sam Harden in a season low 57% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. He had a touchdown with 3 interceptions. Hartman on the year, a completion rate of 63%, 8.9 yards per attempt. NC State improved to 6-2 with their 22-21 home win to Virginia Tech. Wolfpack produced 356 yards, 60 rushing on 34 carries. Defensively, they smothered the Hokies' ground attack and allowed 243 yards passing on 22 attempts. Jack Chambers completed 46% with only 2.4 yards per attempt. A backup made starter due to an injury to Devin Leary. Chambers this year has a completion rate of 52%, just 4.2 yards per attempt. Offense for NC State, the major concern behind a quarterback that barely completes half his passes for very little yardage. Demon Deacons have covered 5 straight after that blowout loss by 20. Demon Deacons have covered 5 straight after being blown out by 20 or greater points. Play here will be Wake Forest at -3.5. California versus USC college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. California fell to 3-5 with their 42-24 home win to Oregon. Golden Bears posted 402 yards with 74 rushing on 26 carries. Defensively, they allowed 4.5 yards per rush to the Ducks with 412 passing on 35 attempts. Jack Plummer, 60% completions, 6.5 yards per attempt. He had a touchdown and 2 picks. On the year, Plummer, a 61% completion rate with 6.8 yards per attempt. USC, they improved to 7-1 after their 45-37 road win at Arizona. Trojans posted a season-high 621 yards with 210 rushing on 32 carries. They did allow the Wildcats over 6.5 yards per rush with 380 passing on 43 attempts. Caleb Williams completed 69% with 9.1 yards per attempt. He's had a season-high 411 yards with 5 touchdowns. Now, on the year, Williams, a 65% completion rate, 24 touchdowns, 1 pick, 8.7 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, Kellis surrendering 460 yards with 332 passing and 8.3 yards per attempt. Trojans defense in this span giving up 473 yards, 5.1 yards per rush, 325 passing with 8.1 yards per attempt. USC offense in this span averaging 515 yards. The play here will be California and USC over 60 points. Colorado State and San Jose State college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. Colorado State fell to 2-6 with their 49-10 road defeat at Boise State. Rams had a season low 170 yards with 3 rushing yards on 20 carries. On defense, CSU surrendered over 4 yards per rush, 305 passing on 32 attempts. Clay Millen completed 65% of his passes with 8.1 yards per attempt. This season, Millen a 72% completion rate, 7.4 yards per attempt. San Jose State is 5-2 after their 35-28 home win in Nevada. Spartans produced 365 yards in this one with 25 yards rushing on 29 carries. On defense, they held the Wolfpack to less than 2 yards a carry with 223 passing on 29 attempts. Chevin Cordero, a season-high 73% completion rate, 7.6 yards per attempt. He threw for a season-high 340 yards and had 2 touchdowns. Now, on the season, Cordero, a 59% completion rate, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7.7 yards per attempt. Rams are rebuilding with really poor offensive production this season, averaging just 223 yards on the road. Spartans have been a good passing team behind the Hawaii transfer Cordero. Play here will be San Jose State at -24. UCLA versus Arizona college football pick Saturday. UCLA moved to 7-1 after their 38-13 home win to Stanford. Bruins gained 523 yards in this one with 324 rushing on 45 carries. Defensively, they allowed 4 yards per rush with 125 passing on 31 attempts. Dorian Thompson-Robinson completed a season-low 62% of his passes, 6.9 yards per attempt on the season. Thompson-Robinson, a career-high 72% completions, 17 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 8.5 yards per attempt. Arizona State improved to 3-5 with their 42-34 road win at Colorado. Sun Devils a season-high 557 yards with 122 rushing on 33 carries. Defensively, they allowed nearly 4 yards a carry to the Buffs with 222 passing on 34 attempts. Dwayne Bourguet completed 74% of his throws with 10 yards per attempt. He threw for 435 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. On the season, Bourguet, 73% completions, 9.6 yards per attempt. Now, Bourguet has picked up this offense past 3 games, ASU averaging 436 yards, 301 passing, and 9.1 yards per attempt. Bruins in this period averaging a balanced 491 yards. Both teams in this period allowing over 400 yards. The play will be UCLA and Arizona State over 66. Hawaii versus Fresno State college football pick Saturday. Hawaii fell to 2-7 with their 27-20 home defeat to Wyoming. Warriors gained 350 yards with 145 rushing on 29 carries. Defensively, they did allow over 8 yards per rush to the Cowboys with 75 passing yards on 15 attempts. Braden Shager completed 51% of his passes in the loss with 4.6 yards per attempt. He did throw for 2 touchdowns on the season. Shader here, 56% for Shager here, 56% completion rate, 5.8 yards per attempt. Now, Fresno State, they're now 4-4 after their come from behind 32-28 home win to San Diego State. Bulldogs put up 391 yards with -3 rushing on 26 carries. Defensively, they allowed about 4 yards per rush to the Aztecs with 291 passing on 25 attempts. Bulldogs did have a -3 turnover margin and erased an 11-point deficit in the final minute and 9 seconds of the game. Jake Haener came back off the injured list here, 75% completion rate, 8.8 yards per attempt. Haener threw for 394 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. On the season, Haener, a 73% completion rate with 8.3 yards per attempt. 3 straight wins for Fresno State. Now on the road, Hawaii is surrendering 68% completions, 9.3 yards per attempt. Their offense on the highways averaging only 316 yards. Play here will be Fresno State at -27. All right, that was our college football show here for Saturday's action. Make sure to like, subscribe, set notifications, and check out our podcast, Tony's Picks. Get all our picks in podcast form there, available on all major platforms. Just do the search, Tony's Picks. All right, I'm Tony T. Back later tonight with more picks here. We got the NBA and World Series later tonight.